All right, so this is our advisory video series. We have Kalena. I am Louise Campbell Anthony, with the affiliate director here with the Peacekeeping Task Force. And we're going to dive right in, Kalena. I want you
Okay.
to introduce yourself and tell me what assembly you're on and how did you get started in this freedom fight, as we call it, or sovereign movement.
All right. Well, my birth name I'm Karen Marie of the family of Teo, Wilson, Ripley, and Gibbs. I'm also belong to the Polynesian family, a very big family called the Suapaia Tuipelehake. I am not representing the Colorado Assembly in any official capacity. I'm acting in my sovereign capacity as an American state national. And so I really go by the name of Kalena Gibbs because you know how like in the Bible how Sarai turned into Sarah. So I converted my birth name because I'm adopted from Karen to the Polynesian version, Kalena Gibbs. So there we are. So I'm just kind of gonna take from my notes from off the notes that you gave me first, if that's okay. So I in my professional capacity, I have many things that make up the American State National, and it was quite a progression in my life. So my first hat I wore is medical, and I was a very young. See, that's warning me that you're calling. Um, my first professional capacity was a very young nurse. So I served in obstetrics, pediatrics, and newborn nursery, where I learned of the Babylonian slave technique of footprinting children. And so I wanted to go further and was studying NICU emergency medicine. However, I began to see that allopathic medicine was a system that was a disease system. So I kind of got out of there and then morphed into the creative. So I have lots of creative hats, which has to do with what I'm doing now, even on the American State National. So I did art and dance as a Polynesian adopted person, not knowing that that was in my blood. So I danced professionally for TRI Productions out of Huntington Beach, California. I then progressed into being a personal manager and creative director for the guy that used to walk me, the security guy that used to walk me to my car as a nurse. I managed him, and we had a stint in Hollywood where we had a deal with Hollywood. So I hated that and had to get out of it for um, just personal faith conviction kind of things. And then we began to have children. Well, I married him, and then we began to have children. And then I became a domestic engineer, and I was the first mama five.
As we call stay-at-home mom.
Yes, yes, but I worked all the time with our independent record label, which was called QUTE, Cute Records Incorporated, and it meant Quest Unknown to Earth. So it had a whole spiritual thing behind it. And with that, it was an independent record label and recording studio, and a community activism vehicle because I hated Hollywood. So, and that has to do with now what I'm doing with ASN. Then I also was, because my children were growing up and it was part of my homeschool curriculum, we did creative educational recording, performing arts, and health initiatives. So then our family was called Colorado, from Delaware to Colorado. And so I took that community activism where I used my art and his music, and we began to outreach from Delaware to Colorado to California. So then in ministry, so then I wore a ministry hat. And in the ministry hat, I was ordained and commissioned twice. But I really say that I'm a follower of the way, the truth, and the life. So not corporated. So then in between all that, I had to wear a legal and lawful hat. And so I am sui juris, I'm secured party creditor, I'm the principal and holder in due course to my ins legis. So I have an international certificate of identity that identifies me as a diplomat, a consul general, and a postmaster general. I also am an attorney in fact to two trusts, and I'm a freelance certified paralegal or paralawful. And I did that through Rutgers University just to kind of catch up. And now I'm studying to be a common law lawyer. So my freedom fight began in 1992 when I
Mm.
began to study with the Moors with my husband, um, Charles Lucky Gibbs. And you can kind of look at it says Delaware Archives, some of our things that we use to socially reform. So then in 1992, we had to start we lived in inner city Wilmington, Delaware, but had to integrate the freedom fight from the get-go.
Mm.
Yeah, from the get-go. So on the Colorado Assembly, I serve as I'm the coordinator of events, marketing, promotions, productions, and products. And I'm one of two coordinators on El Paso County, Colorado. So let's see. Oh, you asked the current capacity and competence to govern our foreign state. Right now, because I believe that we're spirit beings having an earthly experience, we are fighting like a spirit of division, a spirit of strife, these kind of things. And so our capacity right now, because our main coordinator, Scott Sanford, because of health concerns, he is taking more of an administrative approach. So to our state. So we're just one day at a time
Mm.
and doing what we could do, and then just kind of moving and pushing forward. Um, Now, if you want to ask me all the rest
Yeah.
of your questions.
Yeah, so because when we talked one time, you were telling, well, I think it might have been the first time we talked.
Mhm.
Um, you were telling me how you were delving into the Resurgence Project and how you were implementing certain strategies on your Colorado, well, on the El Paso County in your neighborhood and going
Right.
throughout the towns and stuff, implementing some of the ideas in the Resurgence Project because the project hasn't been approved by Anna, well, at least the documents and stuff. So you kind of got creative in your creative self and created some things. And I wanted you to talk about how you are touring your counties and
Okay.
doing the resurgence aspects to it, to what you're doing on your counties.
Okay. So let me grab, let's see. So first on our, first with our state and our county, because I first began to start events last May, and began to outreach and talk to people. And since then, we've developed marketing and promotions on that. So we have a really great artist, Timothy Hageman, who designed our state seal, but we also have stickers. So we have the American Civil Peace flag. We have a big one for our bumpers, so we go everywhere on the cars. Then we have a notice, do not trespass also, which a lot of us put on all our, can you
Yeah.
see that?
It's a little blurry now, but
Okay.
we saw a little bit of it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So then we also decided that we would go ahead and our outreach group, I advised a little bit on this, just a couple statements, but it was our outreach group to put, and I'll send these all to you so you can download them. So when we first started having our state assemblies, one of the first things that I did, and I'll send you this too, I'm just a little particular about it, but I started filming everybody on what they thought. I wanted to capture and get to know people, so I began to film them. But I filmed them in Scott and Trisha's house, the coordinator, down in the basement. But you can hear all this noise in the background. It's not a but Timothy Hageman and I worked. He's my art director, and so we kind of worked on it together. But I'll send it to you. So I got to know people that way and what they did, and then began to ask them, how can we do this thing together? So we began to have monthly meetings and potlucks and public meetings, and that really helped. Then that got pretty popular. The most that we had at one time was, I think it was 52 people present in the physical realm, but then there was about 12 of them online. So we sent out a Zoom link. So we began to kind of develop that. Then um, it got pretty good, and there was some opposition to me because I come on pretty strong, and I come on, I'm here to work. So I'm kind of like you, Louise, turn and burn.
Mhm.
So I began to turn and burn. And so that's why we decided to open up El Paso County. And so we began to have at Tim Ottaway and Amy Ottaway's home weekly sessions with Zoom, and people started joining us to listen to our planning sessions. So in the month of March, we had one every Friday night. So now upcoming, we have a couple things going on. We have a county sheriff's land law conference. And I'm really excited about this because it is at a really beautiful place that I had had some training, leadership training there. And it's up near Broadmoor Hotel, but it's taking place at the El Pomar Foundation, the Penrose House in the Carriage Room. And a lot of people know about this, and a lot of nonprofits use it. So we went up on their community calendar, so everybody will know that the American State Nationals are having it. So it's kind of like a cross promotion. So now I'm asking everybody to kind of to pitch in because we don't really have a budget for that. So two of our members, Jane and Jason Hudson, decided to donate the catering for the breakfast for the sheriff. So I'm getting everyone involved in helping to build each and every one of our events. So everybody has to participate that wants our assembly to grow. They are instructed, like we have an April 27th meeting, that is a public meeting and potluck. And everybody has to take 10 people that they know and send an email or give it to them personally, or even print it out, print the flyer out and put it in public places. So I've made suggestions on how to market, including grocery stores, libraries, other public places, coffee shops are real good. And I want to encourage everyone, because this is it's nationwide, called A Million Cups. And it happens, it's 1 million cups of coffee that takes place on Wednesdays in the morning. And that's because 1 million people are drinking cups of coffee and discussing entrepreneurship. But you can also go to these public meetings and promote your events there. So that's a tip for everybody. So now it's marketing as many times as we can, even though our budget is limited, and I have a plan on HB Print Smart for 1,500 pages in color that includes the ink, and it's only now like $63 plus paper costs. So it's pretty minimal. So have asked everybody to print out business cards, which Tim Hageman graciously just made a template, and then everybody can make their business cards. If you're talking to somebody, have the brochures that are in your glove compartment, stuff like that. So it's progressing from there. So from this county sheriff's event, we have a list that lists all the sheriffs. We have 64 counties, and each sheriff has an email and a contact person. So we put all the lawful notices on our public side of our website, thecoloradoassembly.org. So if you go on there and you look at public notices, the sheriffs are instructed to read these notices, because ignorance of the law, that's not excusable. Yeah. So then our next one right after this, on May 18th, is called I Am an American Day. So I Am an American Day is a revival of circa 1940, where up to 1.5 million people got together and celebrated how grateful they were to be an American. So what we're trying to do, and this is how my past kind of comes to the forefront here, is that we need to change the culture. We need to change the perception of American state nationals. So the way that you can do it is really creatively. And so we are beginning to use the banner waves, which I gave to you before, and the lyrics as kind of the lead-in song to kind of, because music marks a time, and it also it's a universal language. So we're beginning to use that. And so on this I'm an American Day, we are going to, I haven't finished the flyer yet, but we are going to stand on the City Hall steps of Colorado Springs, which is where I'm from, in El Paso County. And our assembly has the largest amount on El Paso County. There's about 82 of us now on the county, and only about 12 that might be active, maybe 12. But I like where you were coming from with your party of 7 against the governor. That's what I'm talking about, grassroots. So then with I'm an American Day, we'll stand on the steps. And so how we're doing it is I got these are all the free publications that are handed out at grocery stores, et cetera, et cetera. Newsstands, 7-Elevens, that kind of Circle K markets. And then if you see, it's quite a lot, and you can advertise your free events in there. So as time allows, I'm trying to get them, and usually it's before the 10th of the month. So I'm already kind of over, so I don't know how many I can get in, but looking forward to our June and July events. So those two things back to back in May, the sheriff's event, and then the I'm an American Day is followed after we take our picture and try to get it promoted into the news media with a press release. Okay, I have 2 contacts, and they said that they would give me a warm lead into that. So we're gathering. Then Dr. Kaweah Red Elk is going to speak on unity and sovereignty there, but it's a positive, upbeat. I'm tired of the negative news, so we're going to celebrate being American. Then right after that, we will have our state public meeting and potluck. And then we'll discuss, and that'll be at our coordinator's home, beautiful home. Then
So,
in June, pardon me?
Go ahead, go ahead.
Okay, then in June, we're following it up with one of our members has a home in Arvada, which is pretty close to our state capital, Denver. And with that, we are going to do the same thing. We're repeating the same thing, where we're going to stand on the Capitol steps according to the resurgence program protocols. We're going to stand on the City Hall steps in our matching T-shirts because we've designed T-shirts and signs. We're going to have a day that we just spend making some real positive signs, and then we're going to take a picture, but also mark it to the media. And see, I'm going to try to pull some. I talked to you about Senator Tony Exum and my involvement with him, and hopefully I can ask a favor. Sorry about that. And then after that meeting on the Capitol steps with our civil peace flags and our stickers and signs and all that, we'll take a picture and submit that to the media as well. And then we're going to have our public meeting and potluck followed at a member's house. And then from there, we are just spreading out. So I took the county map, all 64 counties, and I divided it into quarters. And we're trying to hit the cardinal north, south, west, and east, and then expand first from here to the capital and then out. And so we have the western slope. Somebody is going to, they have a barn that's big enough for everybody to gather. They're going to do something of that. Then our militia, they're down in the southern part of the state. And so we're going to have a pitch our tents kind of practice, but then we're going to have s'mores with that and a campfire and maybe spend the night. So then on the eastern side, I'm still trying to develop that. And then on the northern side, we have some people right at the very top of the state. And so a lot of that has to do with cross promotion with the sheriff's event, because a lot of rural sheriffs only have like one or two sheriffs, so they can't leave their posts to come to us, but we will have that on the Zoom meeting. Then in July, the same gentleman whose house is in Arvada, he has in a kind of a rural setting, he has a log cabin and a lake. And so we're going to try to do July 4th type of things where people in there are plenty of events that are going around in different counties that you can cross promote in. So we've looked at from gun shows, Tanner gun shows, that's a nationwide gun thing, home and garden, things that people, one of the things that I wanted to develop also was our disabled American veterans and our veteran center. So that to me, there's a lot of cross promotion that we can do with that. So it's from there into expanding and letting everybody know if we're going to grow the assembly, everybody has to participate, even if it's only handing out some business cards or brochures or wearing your shirt to work. You know, it still works. So that's where we are.
So these different the cardinal places you're going to, are you connecting with the people that are there? Are you working with the county assemblies there to have your public meetings, or is this the state assembly helping to push the county assemblies out there? How is that logistically working?
Yeah, it's the state, because we only have one other county that just El Paso County is the only one standing right now. So we have one other that met last weekend, and I hope that they'll get going. So it's kind of like a push, like, come on, you guys. But what we try to do with the people that are way out there, that are kind of far away from the General Assembly, which meets in El Paso County, we're trying to get them to have events in their county. And then, like we have one in Huerfano and Rio Grande, which like the next county over. So if we have one in Huerfano, then we'll try to have one in Rio Grande and see whatever's, it's a small town or a small county. So whatever's going on in Rio Grande, we're trying to match it with whatever the town is doing. And hopefully go through the Chamber of Commerce and things like that, that will kind of, and the local government, just to say, hey, and then post it in like libraries and public places where they'll begin to see. We also have already, Scott, our coordinator, had told me, because I wanted to publish in our newspaper in the international notice that you suggested. He stated that 2 years ago they posted that a certain international notice saying that they were up and running, but I'd like to do it again. So I'm getting people excited about it. So because we fund ourselves right now, I'm getting them excited so that they'll donate and support the cause. Mhm.
Mhm. Now, at your meetings, there's two questions I'm thinking about right now. I think I'm gonna go with, I'm gonna go to the sheriff event.
Mhm.
How is that going to be presented? Who's going to be speaking there, and what is the message you're gonna be telling these sheriffs?
Okay, so I've talked to, you may know him, Christopher Hess. He's our PKTF liaison. So I've asked him and one of our really great sheriffs on Arapahoe County, Jonathan Wilhite. So I've asked them kind of, I'll just be brief. I'm kind of an introvert. So I like staying in the background and just kind of doing the work and let other people kind of step to the front and talk. So they are going to be speaking, and it's the message. We plan to have a program, and also some those who attend hard copies of what we want them to be aware of, because ignorance of the law, that's no excuse. So we want them to have that. However, I began to outline it. So one of the primary things of who we are. So it's answering who, what, where, when, how, and why. Also introducing the civil peace flag, I think, is a really important component, but I don't want them to get all glassy-eyed and bored or offended. So that's why we're going to have some nice catering, coffee, tea, and we're really just, what my quest was to I was on a special project with Mike McGowan, and some people in the assembly were hard, you are our employees. And I said no, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to get people to the table, at least come to the table and hear what it is that we have to say. So to me, the best way of going about it, initially said coffee and donuts, but some people thought that might be offensive to say. So anyway, we got somebody that agreed to, Jane and Jason. And Jason is our court clerk for the state, and his wife, Jane, she's part of the outreach group. So.
Mhm. Okay, so my next question is going into the senator, because you told me a story about how you was at one of the de facto public meetings, and
Yes.
that how is your relationship there in communicating with the municipal and the territorial governments?
It was actually a town hall meeting on Black History Month, and Senator Tony Exum. I had been involved in the African American Initiative for Colorado Democrats in 2015 until I was called as a hospice nurse back to California. So I was helping getting him elected as a state representative at the time. So we developed a relationship. So when I stood I had our sheriff, our new sheriff on town, Bruce Reams, for the sheriff for El Paso County, Dr. Kaweah Red Elk, and another gentleman who's brilliant, Brian Calvin Thomas, they all kind of supported me when I was there because I was like, I don't want to go by myself because I don't know how I'm going to be perceived. Okay. So I came there on my marketing. I have an accordion folder that has a bunch of education. And so I stood and I spoke, and I was well received. I was surprised that I was well received, especially by Mr. Tony, who said, well, please see Miss Kalena after the meeting for more information. So I was welcomed with the de facto. So I'm hoping to, because Senator Axum I have met at church, meet most of the folks I know in church, but he is in the Senate. He's in Denver in our capital Monday through Friday, and then on the weekends he has a home here. And so he's been a grassroots guy forever and ever. So yeah, I just hope to keep developing that relationship. So one of the main things, I liked how you said in one fell swoop about all the issues. So that's what we on the El Paso County Assembly want to do, is we want to address all the things that we're tired of. So one of my signs that I'm making is a quote from Angela Davis, one of my just heartfelt. I just love her. But anyway, I am no longer accepting the things I cannot change. I'm changing the things I cannot accept. Angela Davis. So, so that's one of the signs that we'll be carrying around for both of those meetings. Yeah.
How would you encourage the assemblies to try to get out there and start doing this touring? People have apprehension for one reason or another that, that's preventing them from being excited as you are to get out there in the grassroots community and start doing the work of restoring people and bringing them back to the landed soil.
Well, my encouragement comes from looking at the end. Okay, so I have 5 children, but I also have 3 grandchildren. And so when I look 25 years, 50 years from now, that's motivation, that's my why. Because if we don't stand, we're at a critical point, a turning point, I believe, in the resurgence of America. And to me, when you look at our freedoms and things, if they were taken away all of a sudden, then you would have a different perspective on that. So my motivation is just like the people that were in Germany at the time, and the Nazis had come in and they were sequestering people into the ghettos. Okay, they responded too late. Okay, they were too late. It was after the fact, but it wasn't that they weren't told. They were told, but they didn't react enough in time. So I always believe in an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So we get on top of it. I believe that we can have the resurgence, and I have faith that it's going to happen. And I know that Anna has the unseen kind of covered, and that's where I kind of cover too, is on the unseen. Yeah.
Thank you, Kalena. That is a good point to make right there and to end on. So, is there anything else you would like to leave with the assemblies before we go today?
To me, we're beings having an earthly experience. And so even in our quest for sovereignty, we have to look at our sovereignty on a physical, mental, and spiritual level. And there's indicators of what that is, and that'll be on one of our brochures. But to look at our sovereignty and our freedom, that we really have a beautiful thing here. And then I just encourage everybody to take a serious note within their own, and we can start in our own homes, even with our children, our grandchildren, our neighbors, and outreach. So it starts on our home, in our schools, in our city, in our state, and then it just kind of, a county, it just kind of expands. So I just encourage everybody to take responsibility and self-governance in our freedoms. Mhm.
Thank you, Kalena.
You're
Thanks for
welcome.
sharing with us here today.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Shalom.